All right. So we're back for another live recording of the Elite Development Podcast. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to make that light a little less in everybody's face. But either way, not too important. What is important is what we're going to be talking about on the show today. And what we're going to be talking about on the show today is shutting out the noise. Now, this one came to me actually just very recently. I was having a conversation with an athlete today, and we were talking about we were talking a little bit about this, about how, we have people in our lives sometimes, and especially in terms of team sports, there are people on teams that will kind of just shit on the leaders, shit on the people that are trying to step up and do more. And we were talking about how it's difficult sometimes not to listen to those people. And that's what we're going to be getting into on the show today is, first, why some athletes want to be, constantly shitting on those that are trying to do extra, trying to do more, trying to step up for the team. And then if you are one of those athletes that is truly trying to be successful, is truly trying to shut the noise out, focus on the game, and actually make sure that you're making the most improvements you can, we're going to talk a little bit about exactly what you can do to make sure that you're shutting that noise out, focusing on what matters, and becoming the best version of yourself that you can be. But I'm going to close my window first, and then we're going to get into it. There we go. That's better. So just a reminder, before we get into the show right here, the people I want on these live streams, the people that I want listening to this podcast are people involved in the athlete journey, people that are athletes themselves, trying to reach the next level in sport, coaches, parents, anyone that is involved in that process of helping athletes reach the next level, helping athletes become the best versions of themselves that they can be. So we are going to get into the show now. We're going to be talking about shutting out the noise, and we're going to get into it here in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Dussault, and today we are going to be talking about shutting out the noise. And this topic came to me, as I mentioned before we started the stream, this topic came to me very recently. I was having a discussion with an athlete actually earlier today talking about, why certain teammates, why certain people involved in your journey will be not encouraging of you stepping up, of you doing extra, of you being a leader within your team, because there are so many out there that want to be that guy, want to be that girl, want to be the one that, is stepping up, doing what they need to do to help the team. But there's so many of the other people around that like to shit on those people, like to pull those people down, like to talk shit about them because, why is that guy stepping up? Oh, just trying to please the coach. It's like, oh, what a kiss ass, and like all this kind of shit like that. And so that's why I wanted to get into this topic today. That's why I thought this was going to be an important one to bring to all of you, is first, why people are like this in the first place, but then second, what you can do to make sure that you're not paying attention to these people and making sure that you're putting your focus on what actually matters. So first off, why are these people like this? Why do people shit on hard work, shit on effort, shit on people that are trying to do more, people that are trying to strive for something? What is the benefit? What are they getting out of being that guy sitting in the corner shitting on you for trying to go the extra mile? A lot of the time, and obviously every case is different, but in my experience with these kinds of people and, in speaking with the athletes that I work with as well, when they run into a teammate like this, an opponent like this, a friend like this, one thing that's very common is that the person who's sitting in the corner shitting on what other people are doing is not the one that's actually succeeding. This is the person who's not happy with where they're at. This is the person who sees you doing more, wishes they were more like you, and in turn, instead of trying to rise up to your level, sits in the corner and talks shit about how you're just a kiss ass, or you're just trying to be a coach pleaser, or whatever else that they want to go over and say. And, sometimes as that athlete who's trying to step up and go the extra mile, this is a difficult thing to ignore. This could be a good friend of yours. This could be, someone that you've grown close to within your time on this team. And when you hear them talking like that, it might go through your head that, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't, try to be a leader. Maybe I shouldn't try to step up and do more. Maybe I should just kind of shut my mouth, stay in the corner, put my head down and do what I need to do. And because again, we're only human. When we hear people talk like that, especially when it's people we know, we tend not to want to rise above anymore. It's comfortable to sit in the corner, and that's what we tend to want to do. But like I mentioned, what I want you guys to remember is when you have someone speaking this way about you, when you have someone going on about, these extra things that you're trying to do and like making fun of you a little bit for it, this is a sign that you're on the right track. This is a sign that you're doing the right thing. Because if they're sitting around talking about you and talking about these extra things that you're doing, no, it's not because trying to go the extra mile is a bad thing. They're sitting around talking about it because you're doing it and they're not. And why it's important to remember that, why it's important to remember that even if you have some people giving you some shit for trying to go the extra mile, for trying to help your team, help your coaches, why it's important to remember that this is not a bad thing to do, regardless of what these other people are saying, is that your focus needs to be on your career. And when you're moving through your career, when you're rising up to new levels, the people that make the decisions on who gets to go to the next level and who doesn't are not those teammates. Those are not the people that get to tell you whether or not you get to play at the next level next season. Those are not the people that tell you whether or not you get to sign with the higher level organization. They're just not. And so their opinions on how you work in the room, their opinions on how you train, how you practice, that you're staying after practice to do a little bit more work, their opinions on that cannot mean anything to you. Because they are not the ones that make the decisions of where you get to go from here. The people that are going to be able to make those decisions are obviously the people involved in those higher level organizations and your coaches, because when those people involved in the higher level organizations call to ask about you, they're going to be talking to your coaches. And if your coaches say, yeah, he's a shithead that is always sitting in the corner of the room talking shit about our leaders, the people that are on the other side of that phone call aren't going to want you. If the coaches are saying, yeah, this guy's a stud, he's always staying late, he's always working extra hard, he's always looking for the next thing that he can do to improve. Now, which one of those two athletes that I just described do you think that higher level organization is going to want? I know if I'm coaching a team, I want the athletes that are willing to go the extra mile. I want the athletes who are willing to put in the hard work. And if you're one of those, you're going to be in my good books as a coach. And if you're in my good books as a coach, when another coach calls me and asks me about you, I'm going to give you a glowing recommendation. And that, in the end, is what you need. So if you're sitting here right now and you're one of those guys or one of those girls that is trying to do more, trying to go the extra mile, trying not just to fit in with the crowd, remember, you need to make sure that you're focused on what matters. And if you're putting your focus on, well, my teammate called me an ass kisser, or, this teammate was talking shit to his friend about how I was always trying to go the extra mile and he thought it was dumb. Those are not the people that are making the decisions about your future. Those are not the people that are going to impact where you're going to be a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Because remember, whatever level you're playing at right now, you're not playing at that level for today. You're playing at that level for what you're going to be able to lead into the rest of your career. Unless you are at your absolute all-time goal at this moment, you're not playing at the level that you want to be. And the opinions of the other people at that level are not what is going to get you to the next one. All right. So those people are like that, just to sum that up. Those people are like that because you're doing the things that they wish they were doing. You're going the extra mile and they're not. And they know that by you going the extra mile, you're going to get further than them. And instead of rising up and challenging you They're trying to just pull you back to their level to make it easier on them. And why you can't listen to those people, why you can't let those people's opinions affect you, is because you've got to ask yourself, a year from now, what does that person's opinion matter? 2 years from now, what does that person's opinion matter? 5 years from now, what does that person's opinion matter? Zero. They're not the ones making the decisions about your future. They're not the ones that are going to be able to impact where you end up. So they're not the ones you listen to. That is the number one thing I want you to keep in mind when you're dealing with those kinds of teammates. But I also want you to remember, you're always going to have those people. You're always going to have those people that are trying to pull you back a little bit, trying to tell you, not to do so much, not to work so hard. It's okay if you fall off track because, whatever, it's not that important anyway. But through all of that, you've got to remember what is really important. You've got to remember the goals you have for yourself and your career. And that is what's going to lead you to the next level. So the next thing I want to talk about now is when you're in that position and you're dealing with those people, what are some things you can do to, again, not let that affect you, but also make sure that you continue to keep your focus where it's important. So the number one thing, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast, the number one thing is to remember why. The number one thing is to remember why. And when I say that, what I mean is when you are competing at any kind of high level in a sport, it is a hard life. It is a lonely life at times. It is difficult. You're doing a lot. And in order to continue to progress through those levels and continue to make all of this hard work worth it by achieving the goals you have for yourself, the number one thing you've got to remember every day is why you're doing it. Because if you don't remember why you're doing it, that's when it's easy to fall into the trap of being one of those people sitting in the corner of the room, talking shit about the people that are doing more. Being one of those shitheads sitting in the corner of the room, talking shit that this guy or that guy is doing extra, and without realizing that the people doing extra are the ones who are going to surpass you in 6 months, or surpass you in a year, or surpass you in 2 years. And then you're still going to be sitting in the corner of that same room talking shit to the same losers about how much these other people are doing, all the while they're achieving their goals and you're not. So the number one thing you've got to remember is why. Because the second you want to start falling into that comfortable trap of sitting around talking shit about the other guys, you can come back to, why am I doing this work every day? Why am I putting myself through this grind of being an athlete every day? And if you can answer that question with something deep, answer that question. Somebody I was talking to recently, an athlete that I was talking to recently, talked to me about how the reason he wants to be an athlete is to leave a legacy for his children. Now, that's a deep reason why. He wants to leave a legacy for his children that they're going to be proud of, and prove to his family that he doesn't have to settle for something he doesn't want. Now, if you're starting to slip into that comfort and you're starting to slip into that I don't have to work so hard anyway mentality, and you remember, I'm doing this every day to leave a legacy for my children to be proud of me and to prove to my family that I don't need to settle, that better light your ass on fire. Because that's giving me goosebumps sitting here talking about it. And that wasn't even me. That's similar to why I coach. That's similar to why I love the industry that I'm in. But that was somebody else's why. And that's giving me goosebumps. And if it's giving me goosebumps, you'd better believe it's giving them goosebumps. And so every time you slip into that comfortable feeling, every time you slip into that feeling of not wanting to push as hard, not wanting to go as far, not wanting to do as much, you sit back and you remember, I am here to leave a legacy for my future children. I am here because I want to be someone that my kids look up to and are proud of and are excited to call their father or call their mother. Now, how are you not getting up? Now, how are you not going and doing extra? Now, how are you not leaving those losers behind, sitting around in the corner of the room talking shit and becoming one of those people that's getting ready to surpass them? So that's number one. Number one is remembering your why. Number two is you've got to remember, like we've talked about a little bit already, the opinions of other people don't mean shit. If you've got a goal, you come first. If you've got a goal, your goal needs to come first. And if your goal requires work ethic, if your goal requires those extra late nights, those extra early mornings, that extra hard work, that is the only thing that you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about that goal. You need to be thinking about the path along the way towards that goal. And you need to be thinking about the work that needs to go into it. Because if your buddy's telling you, oh, don't worry about it, don't work so hard, oh, all you ever do is train, and you let that get to you and you stop training as hard, now that goal starts to slip away. And again, I want to preface this by saying, if you'd rather be out there and that's where you want your life to be and you don't have big goals for your sport, go out every weekend. Go out drinking, do whatever it is you want to do. This talk is specifically for those who want to look back on their life in sport and have something to look back on. Those who want to look back on their life in sport and have a career that they're proud of, have a career that they know, I gave this everything I've got. I did everything I could to get the furthest that I could get. So if that's you, that's who should be listening to this. So on that note, if you are one of those athletes, one of those ones that wants to go as far as they can, and you've got that buddy of yours telling you, oh, don't worry about your training session, come out and drink with me. And then again, you've got to remember that your goal comes first. And this doesn't mean you can't ever see your buddy. This doesn't mean you can't ever, take a night off. This doesn't mean you can't ever leave the gym. But, excuse me, but the way I like to put that is it's about picking your spots. If you are a fighter, as an example, and you have a fight coming up and your buddy says, oh, it's my birthday, just come out and drink one night. Fucking no. Because again, your goal needs to come first. If your buddy can't understand the fact that you're trying to become a professional athlete and you've got to train and in 2 weeks you have to step into a cage or a ring and fight somebody, that's not that good of a friend. Because again, the good friends support the goals. The good friends support what you're trying to accomplish. So I really want to reinforce that's two things that you really need to do when you're dealing with these kinds of people, when you're dealing with these people that are throwing hate your way, these people that are trying to pull you down, trying to pull you back. The big things I want to reinforce is that you need to remember why you're there. Remember why you're going through that grind every day. And number two, remember what is truly important. Remember that that person's opinion doesn't mean shit to your future. That person's opinion doesn't mean shit to where you're going to be in a year, where you're going to be in 2 years, where you're going to be in 5 years. What means something is how you show up every day. What means something is how you approach your career in sport. So I hope you got some value from this. That is it. That is all. I hope you got some value from this. I hope you're able to take something away. The biggest thing I want to leave you guys with, wow, stumbled over the words there. The biggest thing I want to leave you guys with each and every episode is a piece of actionable value that you can take away, a challenge that you can take away, something that you can implement into your life today to make sure that you're putting a better foot forward tomorrow. So when it comes to shutting out the noise, when it comes to those people that are sitting around talking shit, sitting around telling you that you work too hard, you never have fun anymore, those teammates that are talking shit about how you're trying to be a leader, the number one thing I want to leave you guys with, the number one challenge I want to leave you guys with is every time you have that experience, every time you have someone throw that shade your way, throw that hate your way, I want you to stop. I want you to repeat to yourself, remember why I'm here. Say to yourself exactly why you're here, and then move the fuck on. Understand that opinion means nothing. Understand those people do not affect your future. The person who affects your future is you and the way you show up every day. So that is it. That is all. I hope you got some value from this. And if you did, please do me a favor and share the show with a friend. Share the show with a teammate. Share the show with a coach. anyone that is involved in that journey of helping athletes become the best version of themselves, because that is who we're trying to reach here. That is what we're all about here at the Elite Development Podcast and here with Coach Dussault Conditioning. So I love you all. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you all again soon.